How's it going, Scrub Gamers? We're back with another video here at Scrub Games, and once again, we are here with the next installment of my Understanding How to Build series, where we go over all the leaders in a given set to help you understand how to build them to suit you and your playstyle. Now, for this one, we are going over the Count Dooku leader, so if you're interested, then stay tuned and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep updated with my channel. Also, remember that you can click on the notification bell to get alerts for when my videos do drop, so that way you can watch them there and then or at a later time as benefits you. And now that we have all that out of the way, let's go straight ahead and jump into understanding how to build Count Dooku. So first things first, we're going to start with the leader, as Star Wars Unlimited is a leader-based game, meaning that you can't really play without one, and they are what you're going to build your deck around. It's always best to understand what the leader does and how it functions before you start building your deck around it, because some could be generic and some could be focused on a specific trait. So for this one, we're going to look at the leader, Count Dooku. So it's Count Dooku, Face of the Confederacy. It gives you the command and villainy aspects being green and black. It also comes along with a pretty nice traits being Force, Separatist, and Sith. Now, while Sith doesn't get any benefit, you do get benefits out of the Force and Separatist because it's a Separatist focused deck given his effect. And also you can access the Force trait, which is a trait that some cards have extra benefits depending if you have certain traits, and Force is one of those ones. So you can get access to some really nice Force cards, or get more benefits from cards by having a Force leader, or for when he deploys. Now, when he does deploy, that is quite late at 7 resources, but he comes down with some solid stats. So 7 resources is not too bad, especially since he's in the aspect that ramps. You can get him out a bit earlier in his own aspect, so you have to worry about adding green to that. And also, if you don't ramp, he comes out on turn 6, essentially. Now, when he does deploy, he comes in with his stats at 5-9, which is pretty good. 9 is pretty good, quite high for a bit of bulk on a leader, and 5 power is pretty solid for in terms of strength. He does also come down with Overwhelm, which is a keyword where essentially if you do damage to a unit that exceeds their health, any excess damage goes to your opponent's base instead, essentially piercing for this game. Now, for its effects that are in both the leader area and when he's deployed, they're both similar and they focus on the Separatist trait. Now, when a leader normally deploys, their effect kind of either gets stronger when they deploy from what it was in the leader area, or it changes slightly or quite a bit. Now, for Dooku, it stays the same, but it just gets strengthened. So when he's in the leader area, his action is to tap himself and then allow you to play a Separatist card from your hand, and it gains Exploit 1. And Exploit is a keyword skill that came in set 3. It's more for the dark side, so the dark side got Exploit, the good side got Coordinate, and they kind of do bleed over into the normal traits, so like the non-dark or non-light ones. And what Exploit allows you to do is defeat any number of resources up to the number in the exploit. So in this case, Exploit 1, you can do it up to 1 unit. And for every unit defeated by the skill, you get to reduce the cost of the card you're playing by 2. So for 2 for every 1. So for Exploit 1, you can defeat 1 unit you control, and then the next card you're playing costs 2 less. So that's pretty cool. So you can use this to kind of reduce the cost of card and make use of it, and this allows you to make good use of those battle droid tokens that are quite weak and you can kind of spam out. And now when he's in the leader area and deployed, when he's deployed not in the leader area but deployed into the ground arena, he now gains the same effect but on attack. So rather than have to just tap himself, now he just has to attack, and then he makes the next Separatist card you play gain Exploit 3. So the next one you will play gains Exploit 3, so you can then exploit up to 3 units, and for each one you defeat with Exploit, you reduce the cost by 2, so you can reduce the next card up to 6 potentially, which is pretty nice. But do note it does focus on the Separatist trait, so it's not any trait, but is Separatist, and there aren't many before we get to set 3, but there are a fair few, actually quite a lot, in set 3. Also note that like every leader, it also gains a showcase, and like all others, that you got to remember that art is subjective, so you can either hate the showcase art or you can like it, but the only opinion that really matters about showcase is your own, because it's your view. If you like it, you like it. If you like to hate it, you don't, but you have to worry about anybody else's opinion on them. And for Dooku's, he is a pretty nice one, quite chivalrous, quite intimidating, like his stance, and just like it shows how great he was as a character in the series. Now, we're going to go into some of the basics of the game for any brand new players, so they have as much help as possible to help them build a deck. But if you're more of a veteran player, and you don't need this, then feel free to just use the timestamps in the description below the video to skip towards any parts that you're after, that as they're noted for ease for reference. So you should be able to look down, skip to any point, but we're going to go over some basic info for newer players. So next we cover the bases. So along with your leader, you have a base, like these ones on board, or on screen. And these are the other mandatory piece you need along with your leader, as it's part of how you win or lose the game, and also provides you with assets for play. Now, there are only two types of bases as of set 3. So the first one you have, like on the left, are the rare bases, which have a lower health total, but can compensate with that by having an effect that's either an epic action, continuous effect, or an event that triggers on a specific point. So, like shown here, where you got Droid Manufactory. And then next you have is the common bases. Now they are all 30 health currently, with no effects, and they all have the same traits, but the only difference being their art, their aspect, and name and location. Now, as a set 3, there is nothing that benefits you from a base have a specific name or location, so for these you just choose whichever preferred art you want in the aspects you're playing. So first we're going to have a look at the rare bases, and these are the 8 rare bases you have. So they're currently 8 as a set 3, with 2 in each aspect. And set 2 didn't have any, but we have the first 4 being the top row from set 1, and the new 4 being the bottom row from set 3. The set 1 bases are more standard format style, with all of them being used often by the Cunning bases, whereas the set 3 bases are more for Twin Suns format. So like you've got the first slot from set 1 being the top row, like I said, and they all have the same health at 25 health, but they all have an epic action as their response. So basically, you use the effects, you have to use up an action to do it. And you got some pretty strong ones like Security Complex, giving a shield token to a non-leader unit, Target Town allowing you to deal 3 damage to a non-leader unit, and you got things like Energy Conversion Lab allowing you to play a unit that's 6 or less, not ignoring this. You still play the cost of the card, and then giving it ambush. So these are ones that typically don't interact with your leader at all, and give you varied effects, normally kind of showcase the kind of what the aspects will want to do. Now the strongest one out of these was Energy Conversion Lab. This one was the one that was like very overused during set 1 and even set 2 as well. Well, kind of dropped off a little bit set 2, and Jeddah City was one that barely ever saw play. Now for the bottom lot, we've got the rare bases for set 3, and these, as I said, seem to be more focused on Twin Suns, but they give benefits like you've got 2 that are continuous and 2 that trigger when your leader is deployed. So you've got Pal City and Petrarch Arena. These are both ones that continuous effects, so where you control a leader, they gain a stat boost, being Petrarch Arena, the Cunning one, being a extra 1 power, whereas Pal City being one that gives extra 1 health. So these are more beneficial for 2 Twin Suns because you get 2 leaders in those, so it kind of makes more benefit for that. And you also have the highest health for rare bases being 26. You then have Droid Manufactory and Shadow Collective Camp being the ones that trigger when your leader deployed, and they kind of benefit vary as well. Like you've got Droid Manufactory being the lowest health at 24, but when you deploy your leader, get 2 Battle Droid tokens, making good use of the new keywords, Coordinate and Exploit. Being either getting units for the exploit to kind of make use of that trait by exploiting those new Battle Droid tokens, playing something cheaper, or having 2 Droid tokens out so you have Coordinate, which is a keyword skill which requires you to have 3 units in play to trigger that effect that it's attached to. And then we have the last one, Shadow Collective Camp. 25 health base like the original ones as well, so like the average for the rare bases. And also, it just allows you to draw a card. So more of a benefit in the Twin Suns where you deploy 2 leaders, get draw 2, but the draw is not too beneficial. It's not as great as, not crazy good as in other games it might be, but it could be something you might want to use. So that brings us to the last of the bases being the other side, being the vanilla bases. Now, they are all, like I said, they're all same in terms of aspects and stats, so you can use whichever one you like the best in the aspect you want, but these are just my personal preferences for the bases. Like I like these ones, they just look cool, the art, but like I said, if you don't feel like you want to have any of the rare bases or don't see the benefit of them, just go ahead and use a rare, like a common base, have that maximum amount of health, and just pick whichever art you like the best of. Right, so next we're going to go over all the aspects, as there are 6 in total. There are the 4 color aspects which are on all leaders and bases, and these are Vigilance, the blue aspect, Command, the green aspect, Aggression, the red aspect, and Cunning, the yellow aspect. Then along with these, you also have then the other two aspects which represent the light and dark sides of the game, and these are also on all leaders, not the bases though. And these are Villainy, which is the black aspect. This stands for control and destruction, featuring the antagonists of the Star Wars universe. And then you have Heroism, which is the white aspect, which stands for peace and justice, and features the protagonists of the Star Wars universe. Now these 6 aspects all have a specific kind of style of play. Like you have Heroism, which is a more rebellious, has more rebellious effects, making for a very aggressive side of the game. Then you have Villainy, which has more destructive effects and makes for a more controlling side. Now you always have one of these 2 aspects on your leader, and also one of the 4 color aspects on your leader as well. These also have a specific style of play, and we're going to go over what they kind of go for. So for the different kinds of styles you play, you've got Vigilance here, being the blue aspect. Now this allows you to play defensively with the ability to heal damage, remove dangerous units from play, and protect your opponents, or protect your base from enemy attacks. Now this is a perfect aspect if you're someone who likes to play a very patient and enduring play style to play more controlling, because you've got all that heal and stuff you can kind of hold off. So if there's something you like, then go for it. That could be the one you can play. Now if you go for Command is the one you get also on Dooku, so it's already built in, and it's more of a ramp focus, because this one wants to accelerate your resources and call upon lots of units or strength for the units you have in play. And this is a perfect choice if you're a person who wants to overwhelm the opponent with a massive board presence, because you get to play out more things, either more little things or some bigger things earlier that kind of make it so your opponent kind of has a harder time dealing with them. So this is one that already comes on Dooku. And then you got the next one being Aggression, and just like the name suggests, it's a very aggressive in terms of damage, because this one wants to attack with maximum efficiency and dish out loads of damage. And this is an aspect that's a perfect choice if you like fast-paced, fiery play styles and want to break through your opponent's defenses and just hurl damage until you achieve victory. So if that's the kind of way you like to play, very aggressive, then Aggression could be for you. And that brings us to the last one, being Cunning. So this one is a jack of all trades one, because it wants to adapt to any situation on the fly with powerful and immediate effects, and have lots of tools for disrupting your opponent's game plan. So if you're someone who likes to have a response to all, a response to all threats and have an answer for almost anything your opponent can throw at you, this could be a perfect one for you to try out. So that is what the aspects do. And with your leader and base, together they give you 3 aspects. And these make for the following aspect combinations. So if you have a blue base with Dooku, because remember Dooku will provide you with both black and green, being the Villainy and Command ones, you get access to green and blue. And if you go for a green base, you can go for then double green. If you go for a red base, you get access to green, red. And then if you go for a Cunning base, being the yellow one, you get access to green and yellow. So those are the different aspect combinations you can have. So depending on your base, you have these. And then that brings us to the last part of the aspects, being the aspect penalty. Now, here I've created this handy dandy guide to better show you how it works, as I want to improve this on this series as best I can. Now this game, you can put any card in your deck, but when it comes to actually playing the card, then that's where the aspect penalty comes in. See, whenever you want to play a card, if any aspect on the card you want to play doesn't match any of the aspects among your leader and base, then you have to pay an additional 2 resources per aspect that doesn't match. So this leader and base combo as an example on screen, being Dooku with a blue base. If you want to play a card with all the aspects on it match, then what's on your lead, well, basically what's on your leader and base, then you can play it for its cost printed on the card, and we have an example here in the top box. So with this leader base combination, anything in the top box, if it has those aspects or that combination of aspects, you just pay it for the printed cost. Now, if you want to play, if on the card you want to play, you have one aspect that doesn't match what is on your leader and or base, then you have to pay an additional 2 resources on top of the printed cost of the card to play that card. So it would basically make a card that would usually cost 3 a 5 cost card, because it is technically, quote, out of aspect. Also note that any aspect you only provides just one of itself, meaning say a Vigilance aspect, which is blue, will only provide 1 Vigilance, meaning if you want to play a card that has 2 Vigilance aspects, the 2 blue aspects on it, and you only have 1 amongst your leader and base, then you need to pay an additional 2 resources, as you don't have the second blue aspect. And the examples of this with this leader base combo is shown in the middle box. So if you want to play a card that has any of these combination of aspects, you have to pay an extra 2 additional cost on top of the card's printed cost. Now, if you want to play a card which has both aspects that don't match the aspects on your leader and base, then you have to pay a whopping 4 extra resources on top of the card's cost. So a card that would cost 3, in this case, would cost you 7, and we've got examples shown in the last box at the bottom. So if you want to play one of the 4 aspect combinations there with this leader base combo, you have to pay an extra 4 additional resources on top of the printed cost to play that card. Now, while the aspect penalty does make a card more costly if you play it out of aspect, sometimes a card is worth paying that extra cost. A great example of this is set 1 double aspect events, all named after their respective aspects, as they offer 4 effects in which you can choose any 2 of them and result in whichever order you choose, and these have been played competitively outside of a double aspect leader base combo. So don't always think that because the aspect penalty is about that you should never play a card out of aspect. Sometimes cards are worth playing out of aspect, so you just have to decide if the benefit outweighs the cost. Now, the last part before we go on to look at each of the aspect combo's benefits, we're going to talk about ratios. Because like in all card games, you can play a certain number of copies of any given card in your deck, and they vary between each card game as well. So for Star Wars Unlimited, you can include up to 3 copies of any given card in your deck, so you can have 3, 2, or 1 copies of a card. Now there are benefits to how many copies of a card you should include in your deck, and we're going to go over when you should ideally add either 1, 2, or 3 copies of any given card. So, starting off with the 3 copies of a card. This is the ratio to help maximize the likelihood that the desired card will be in your hand when needed. So examples of this are being cards to play on the first turn, or cards you want to see more copies of over the course of the game. So here I've got the example of Poggle the Lesser. This is a fantastic card to start off turn 1 in things like Dooku, because it's a 2 cost, so you can play it as early as turn 1, play it straight out the first turn, and it's also separatist, so you can actually play it out cheaper later on if you want to play it for free. And it's a 1/4, so not the craziest stats, but still pretty good. And then whenever you, going forward, whenever you play another unit, you can exhaust himself, and if you do, create a battle droid token. Now those battle droid tokens go a long way into letting you use the effect of Dooku to give a unit, play a unit you would exploit, so you can exploit that droid token you just made to then go ahead and make a card you're playing cheaper. So a great combination with Dooku, and a great one you want to have turn 1, and ideally what you want to open with in each game. Next we have the ratios of 2 copies of a card. Now, this is usually the ratio for cards that aren't great to draw early in the game, but still want to go over you still want to go through multiple copies over the course of the game. And examples of this being the big boss cards and the high costing cards. So a great example I've always got here is Rival's Fall, because with removal in this game, there is removal in like events that just instantly defeat a unit. But the cheaper the cost, the more restrictive they are. That you got like Takedown, which can take out any unit, but it needs to have 5 or less remaining HP, things like that. But Rival's Fall is one of those really, really powerful ones where it's a high costing event at 6 resources, but it can defeat any unit, be it leader, unit, you name it. It can even defeat leaders, which is the big benefit and selling point of it. But this is not a card you want early in the game, so you might want to have 2 copies. That way, hopefully, you can see it later in the game when you need it to defeat your opponent's leader, and draw it to a later game and not see it early to clog your hand. And that brings to the last of the ratios, being one copy of a card. Now, this is usually the ratio for cards that are added to a deck specifically in order to counter a specific function. An example of this being the card Restock on screen, which is added to decks to help counter hard control decks, because hard control decks will just focus on what they're basically named after, being hard control, focusing really hard on that controlling aspect to make sure you can't really play or do anything. And then since they're just focusing more on the control, they'll aim to do the deck out damage to kind of win the game. Because remember, the only way you can win the game is by dealing enough damage to your opponent's base to make up to the number of their health. So 30 damage for a 30 health base. And if you get to the point where you cannot draw any more cards, you then take 3 damage for each card you would try to draw but can't draw. So if during the regroup phase, when you draw 2 cards, if you can't draw one of them, you take 3 damage. If you can't draw both of them, you take 6 damage in total. So a hard control deck will get you to that point where you're decking out and have no cards left to draw, and you start taking that draw damage, so that way you eventually die from that, so you have to do anything. But if you have Restock, you can use this to put 4 cards from your discard pile back on the bottom of your deck in a random order, And given how the game functions, you can put itself as part of those 4 cards. So you can keep looping it over and over again and make sure those last 4 cards are itself included and everyone's, or even just itself and whatever card to make sure you're drawing exactly every turn this card back as the 2 cards you draw, and the other card you want to use against your opponent. So make it you're not taking out deck out damage and also getting back cards and just basically looping this over. So that could be a way to kind of like counter hard control decks. So hopefully that's helped you understand the ratios and basically understanding if you should have 3 copies, 1 copy, or 2 copies of a card in your deck, and a bit more understanding of it. Now with all the basics out of the way now, we're going to go ahead and check out the benefits that each of the double aspects provide with this leader. Well, each of the not double aspects, but all the aspects provide. Now, I like to start off with the double aspect first, as it's the one that gives you a smaller pool of cards, as you sacrifice access to a whole other aspect in order to play these 9 cards without incurring the aspect penalty. Now, back in set 1, this was only really a viable option for just 1 leader in each aspect, and wasn't necessarily the best way to build and play them. However, now with 3 sets in the game, there are triple the amount of double aspect cards and also cards in all aspects, meaning now any leader can go this route in a decent capacity. So with these 9 cards for green, they're not the best ones. Like double green isn't the best, but you have some pretty nice ones in it. So you have Krill. Well, for set 1 you have Krill, Attack Pattern, Delta, Command. Now out of these 3, only Command's really great. Like Krill was a pretty nice one, like a 5-cost unit, 3/4, and then if gives all your when defeated, all your units when defeated, you draw a card. So if those if you defeat those other units with exploit while this is on board, you're going to start drawing cards as well, kind of dig for your deck quicker, which would be pretty nice. But you got to keep Krill around, which isn't the best for any full health. Now you also got a Tap Out and Delta, which can give 3 units a boost, being either 3, 2, or 1, depending which one you choose first, second, or third. And isn't great unless you can whiteboard. And now you can use it with those little droid tokens, giving 3 tokens out and then giving them all a boost. So you make 1 extra 1 power, 1 power, well 1 1 extra 2 2, 1 extra 4 4. But then they're mainly going to be there for exploit. Now Command's a really good one because it's one of the 3 ramp cards you had back in set 1. Because you either have the Super Laser Tech for the dark side, you had Resupply for any aspect, or for double aspect you had Command. So if you went for double green in a dark leader, you had access to all 3 ramp cards, but you can maximum ramp. Now this is one that is, like I said, one of those aspects that's named after the aspect itself, being a 4-cost event, double aspect. They give you 4 options and give you the chance to choose any 2 of them and resolve them. That's pretty nice effects. And not good all over them, but it is pretty good options. Set 1, that's probably one of the best ones from set 1's double aspects. Now for set 2, they didn't offer anything much. Like, it wasn't really you had 2 of them at least being used. That's being Enterprise and Lackeys, being a pretty good card because you can smuggle it out and keep it constantly as a smuggle unit. Because when it's defeated, you can defeat a friendly resource and put it back, discard back in your resources. Basically put him back in play as a resource. So essentially, you smuggle it out, and then if it dies because it's a 4-cost 5/5, then you go ahead and put it back in your resource by defeating when you resources. I mean, you always got something to smuggle out, so you always got something to play every turn, which is pretty nice. But it was only in those double green that I only ever saw it really played in Palpatine. And then you got Enforced Loyalty, could be a nice one because you can defeat a unit, and if you do draw 2 cards, then you can defeat one of those 1/1 droid battle droid tokens to draw more cards, but you're then paying 2 for it and having to go double aspect. So this hasn't really seen play yet. And you got Endless Legions being like a card that can help make meme versions of leaders like Palpatine, because it's a 14-cost event, a high-costing event, but it allows you to reveal any number of your resources and play each unit revealed by this way for free. So you can essentially put loads of high-costing units into your resources and then play all of them out with this and build a huge board in one go. But it's either a win more card or a card you're kind of holding off to try and get to that point, focusing on just like ramping, surviving, so you can get to playing out, hence why it's a meme. And that brings us to the last 3, being the new ones from set 3. That's pretty cool ones. You've got Maz Amadea, which is a pretty nice one, a very good one for turn 1, because it's a 2-cost unit, so you can play it turn 1. Doesn't have any power, but it does have 4 health, so it's got a nice bit of bulk to it. And then whenever you play a unit, you can look at the top, you can exhaust himself and look at the top 4 cards of your deck and grab a unit, and basically just add a unit from them among them to your hand, and then put the rest of the bottom of your deck in a random order. So it basically essentially ensures that you always have a unit to play every turn. So you play itself out, so you play a never unit, look at top forward, and basically grab another unit, make sure you've consistently got a unit to play every turn to keep using this effect. So it's pretty nice when they keep that consistency and give you more cards and like a good reason to play it. But then the other two aren't so great because you got Manufactured Soldiers, which is a free cost event that allows you to make 2 Clone Super tokens or 3 Battle Droid tokens. So you either get 3 1/1s or 2 2/2s. So not the best, but it could be quite useful because it helps out things like Coordinate or Exploit, which could be pretty helpful. And then you got I can't really know how to say this one. Tyrannic Assault, I think. It's a free cost event as well, and for this phase, makes every friendly unit gain, when defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy unit. So if you have a very, very wide board, you can essentially make them all ticking time bombs, where they can actually keep attacking. If they're taken out, they're doing 2 damage to an enemy unit, making sure your bonus board is going with yours. So nothing, like in each set, there's been one pretty good card out of each of double aspects for green, but nothing outstanding that's been amazing. But still, having things like Command and then Maz Amadei is pretty nice. Even like Engine's Legion as a big benefit to any ramp strategy is pretty nice. Like I wouldn't recommend this for Dooku because he doesn't seem the best one to benefit from it. But if you can make it work and want to try it out, it's still good. It's still an option that you can potentially try out. Just it's not one that I would go for. Now, before we go into the other aspects that the betas can provide you, we'll first cover the aspects that the leader provides, and this is Command for Dooku. So, for Command, we're going to go, well, for each aspect, we're going to go over the dark side and a non-dark side of each aspect, so you can kind of see which ones. Remember, each aspect, they have a rare or a common base. So these are the 2 rare ones you can have, Energy Conversion Lab or Droid Manufactory. Now, Droid Manufactory can make a pretty nice one if you go for double green, as it can provide you 2 battle tokens when you do deploy Dooku, and it's also in the aspect ramp as well, so you get in Command and the ever good cards of ramp to kind of deploy Dooku a little bit earlier. And those 2 battle droid tokens can go a good way into playing out something bigger, cheaper, if you want to. Or you can have Entry Conversion Lab to kind of ambush in a unit to kind of control the board and make good use of things like Kalani and stuff like that. So do bear that in mind for the rare bases. Now for the units you could have, you got some good cheap ones. You got things like Crumb, Poggle Lesser, and Super Laser Technicians, the lower cost ones. Like Crumb being a nice way to get that healing on board and get that little chip damage away as well. So every time he's played, you heal 1, and when you can tap him to return him back to your opponent, to your hand to do a damage to a unit in the ground arena. So kind of do that chip damage and healing. You got Poggle being a very good one turn 1 because then while he's on board, anytime you play a unit, you can exhaust himself to create a battle droid token to have then exploit fodder. And then you got Super Laser Technician, which is one of the ramp cards, but needs to be defeated when doing the ramp. And when he's defeated, you get to put him to play as a resource and ready himself, so he's there ready to use as well. And he can be a perfect one to use exploit on to kill, because then if you defeat him by using exploit, you then ramp yourself, and then also he's perfect fodder for that. Now for bigger units, you've got some pretty nice ones that you got Kalina here, which is Separatist, which you can reduce the cost with thanks to Dooku, and allows you on attack to choose another unit. And if you have the initiative, choose up 2 units instead and give him an extra 2/2 to power for the phase, and comes with solid stats at a 5/7. Now also, with the same stats, you also got Darth Vader being a very good one. Isn't really a Separatist, so you can't really put it down, but it's still a very good unit nonetheless, because he's got the solid stats, 5/7, ambush, and when he's played, he gets to put more cards on board, up to a cost of 3 or less, of dark side units from your top 10 cards of your deck on the play, so you can get out, like, say, a Poggle and a Crumb, or a Super Laser Technician, things like that. Some pretty nice things to kind of just get either potentially more fodder out for exploit, or even just more things in play to make more benefits. Then you got some other Separatists you can exploit. So you've got Admiral Trench and Separatist Super Tank, both have exploit already, but you can add more exploit to them, because remember, exploit is a card that has a certain number, so you can potentially stack those as well. So you got Admiral Trench, 7 costs, with exploit 1 already, so with Dooku, potentially you can make him either an exploit 2 on the leader side or exploit 4 on the other side, so you can potentially play him for free, almost. And he allows you to, when played, return any number or up to 3 units that were defeated this phase back from your discard pile back to your hand. So if you defeat some units, like that's not just battle droid tokens, or like say you defeat a Vader that's almost dead on the board, you can then get that back with Trench, which is pretty cool. So kind of like loot things back, and his stats are not too bad, considering that you can reduce his cost. And also your Separatist Super Tank, which is just a vanilla card, got exploit 9 cost 8/8, pretty good stats, but then you can exploit it further. So if you can exploit it down to exploit 4 on the leader side, so use Dooku to play it out, make it exploit 4 instead of 3, so you can potentially kill 4 of your units and make it a 1 cost, and a 1 cost 8/8 is pretty powerful. Or you can just potentially even make it completely free on the leader's deployed side, swinging, making it then have a exploit 6. I mean, you can defeat up to 6 resources, normally 5, make it cost absolutely free. This is normally one that you could just literally play out a big unit with no effect, but it's a big staff unit which opponent has to then either do a lot of damage to try and take out, or use one of those instant defeat effects. Then alongside that, you also have Overwhelming Barrage being a very powerful card, giving a small boost to a stat unit, but then allowing it to make it do its power's damage. And the more powerful the unit is, the more damage you can do. So one of the reasons why the dark side of green is so strong in the game. Now, for the non-dark side of command, you've got some pretty nice ones. You've got some good cheap units for early game. You've got like Yularen and Cobb Banff, either to heal you or keep units on board, and Cobb Banff being a nice one you can exploit as well, because when he's defeated, you can keep a unit on play by looking at the top 10 cards, milling a 2 cost or less among them to your discard, and then playing it for free at any point during that phase from your discard pile. So being a exploit fodder, and then putting out more exploit fodder, or just something back in place. So you've either got more fodder for more units, or something new out to keep something on board as well, to keep your board healthy. You also got some Separatists as well. You can either exploit further or already have exploit, like B2 Legionnaires being a nice Sentinel unit. That's a 5 cost 5/4, but you can exploit using Dooku. Or Bactoid Spider Droid being an 8 cost 5/6, which also has exploit 2, and also has ambush as well. So you can potentially make that further exploited, or exploited down to potentially become a 4 cost as ambush at 5/6, which is pretty cool. You also have bigger units like Reinforcement Walker. Well, it's not a card you can exploit with Dooku, it's still a very strong one. Very high costing at 8, with solid stats, and can either net you more cards or heal your base, which is cool. Then you got Gore. Now, Gore is kind of like the third set, one like every set so far had like a strong green card that can like ambush and do all these crazy things. And Gore is like the third like set 3's one, because you had Vader for set 1, Maul for set 2, and you got Gore for set 3. And Gore, even though it's 12 cost, it's got exploit 3 already. And if you combine that with your leader, you can either make it exploit 4, so you can potentially exploit 4, like defeat 4 units you control and make it cost 4 instead of 12. Or on the leader side, give it never exploit 3, make it exploit 6. So then you can exploit 6 wee battle droid tokens or 6 units on your board to make it cost absolutely free, no resources at all. And it's pretty strong because it's a 7/7, pretty strong there. It's got Sentinel, so your opponent has to go through it to get to your base, well, your ground arena or base. And it also has Ambush, it attacks straight away, and Overwhelms, it does piercing damage. It's got all those good stats and comes out cheaper. And if you can keep those droid tokens flowing, then you can just drop this a lot cheaper every time. And then you also got some pretty nice events in like 10-minute invention, basically play things with Ambush as well. And also resupply being a never optional ramp. So if you go for double green, you've got resupply, you've got super laser technician, you've got command. So there's nice options there. But even if you don't play double green and play a different aspect, you've got at least resupply and super laser technician as good ramps. And super laser technician gets even more benefit of being exploit fodder, which goes very well with Dooku. So that is command. Now we're going to move on to the next one. And that one is Vigilance. So this is what you get if you went with a blue base with Dooku. So you can have the option of for a rare base, Superior Complex, or Pal City. Now, not sure if these will be benefits, but then blue does give you the option of like getting a bit more heal, so you potentially mitigate the low health by having that heal for your base as well. And you got some pretty cool units. So you got some more cheaper units, like the lower cost units, like Inferno 4, Wartime Trade Official, being good turn 1 offense that units that have when defeated effects can make use of that exploit, and also basically do something pretty nice, like either make a droid token when defeated, like for the Wartime Trade Official, or look at the top 2 cards of your deck to kind of manage what you're going to be drawing into with Inferno 4. You got some more like slightly higher costing, but still low cost units, like General Grievous being a very good statted one at 3 cost 4/4. Nothing more outside that. His effect is all about lightsabers, putting lots of them on. So you really want to benefit. It's just more, it's a 3 cost 4/4, which is very good stats for its cost. And Long Pike being a very good statted one at 4 cost 4/6. You can smuggle in if you want to as well, and every time it attacks, you give a shield token to one of your opponent's units. So you can put one in a different arena that he's in, and then give a shield token to one of your units. So if your opponent's got a space unit that's weak, you can get given a space token that you don't care about, shield tokens, and then give shield tokens to your board in however way you like. Then you also have some pretty nice high-costing separatists. Like for example, you've got Dooku here from set 1, which you can exploit. So you can make it a little bit cheaper, even like make him either a 5 cost or a 1 cost, depending on what side of exploit you're going to give him from Dooku. But still making him cheaper, making him a 5 cost. A 5 cost 5/4 that comes in shielding and defeats anything with 4 or less health is pretty nice there. So pretty cool. And you got Malevolence as well, being when it's already got exploit 4, but you can actually make it have exploit 5 or 7 with Dooku, and also gives you some resource of something that hasn't been about much in the dark side of blue resource. I think it has been. No, I think it has been since the beginning, but not much of it. Not compared to the rest of blue and the light side of blue. Because you restore 2, so when it swings, it heals 2 from your base, and as effect, it makes a unit have 4 less power and can't attack that phase to make it easier to either take out or avoid from doing much damage. And then you've got some removal events, which is very good in Dark Side Blue, being Power Dark Side, Super Laser Blast. So Power Dark Side, forcing your opponent to defeat one of the units, and the benefit of this is that the less your opponent has on board, the more devastating it is. The more they have on board, the less devastating it is. And then Super Laser Blast, just getting everything regardless, which is cool. And also a tactic as well, so you can switch that off a Stellar Guerrera if you want to put in that for the light side, which costs more but still searchable. And then you got the non-dark side of Vigilance, so give you some good one. Like, it's not many good, not like the normal side of. Oh, I forgot I've left in a dark side one. Droidic Scare, I forgot that was darker, not that, so ignore that one. But yeah, there's not many in terms of the great like non-dark or non-light blue units in this. That's why like Droidic Scare, I forgot that was dark. I thought it was a normal one, like a normal blue one. But yeah, you got some good units like Kiadi Mundi being very good stats for its cost, and also having coordinates. So the more units you have on board is a bet's life. So if you got himself plus 2 other units, you can then draw 2 cards if your opponent plays a second card during each phase. Pretty nice there. You got multi-troop transport, which can make it cheaper thanks to being a separatist and already having exploit. So you can potentially make it a bit cheaper. And then every time it attacks, even though its stats aren't the best for its cost, you can reduce it. So 3/6 is not too bad. And it can create battle droid tokens whenever it attacks. So make those tokens out to make use exploit, being a nice one there. And you got Roger Roger. So if you have if you spam out a focus follow, spamming out a load of tokens, you can use Roger Roger, because this is a 1 cost upgrade that is gives 1/1 power. And whenever the unit it's on is defeated, you attach it. Then attach it instead of putting discard. You then attach it to a friendly battle droid token. So if you go for battle droid token spam, you can actually put on a token, ram into one opponent's units, do 2 damage. It turns it from a 1/1 into a 2/2, and then re-equip Roger Roger, not paying his cost, I imagine, onto another battle droid token, and then keep doing that. Just keep spamming it, making those units swinging for more damage to your opponent's units, and then re-equipping it as a never one if you want to go for a spam. So that's pretty cool. I reckon that is pretty cool there. And then you got some ever nice upgrades like Entrench, being ones that stop the unit from being attack bases, but give it a huge boost, which could be beneficial either making your units bigger to help clear your opponent's board, or making your opponent's unit not be able to attack your base because you have nothing in that arena, which is a cool strategy that you can use with this. And also you got removal events, like Blue is famous for its removal events, like you got Takedown and Fellow Dragon, both 4 costs but have different restrictions and ways. Like Takedown can take down absolutely any unit, being a leader as well, as long as it's got 5 or less remaining HP. Whereas Fellow Dragon can take out any non-leader unit that has 5 or more power. So the more powerful ones Fellow Dragon can take out. Takedown can take out the weaker health ones. And then you got the Invasion of Christophsis, which is an event that Dooku could potentially cheapen, and it's like a one-sided board wipe. So whereas Super Laser Blast takes out everything but at the cost of 8, this is 15 costs, but you have exploit on it, so you can kill off some of your small tokens just to make it cheaper and make it so you choose one opponent, which in one-on-one play, standard play, which is just your opponent, you can basically defeat all their units. Pretty nice there. But you have the small tokens board. So this is one that's not the greatest because you have to exploit your own units and it's more of a win more. But if you're just focusing on token spam and get out tons of tokens, your opponent doesn't deal with them, then you can potentially use this as a better super laser blast by just doing your opponent's board, not yours. But that is all the blue units. So that's all the Vigilance. Vigilance being a nice way to Vigilance being like one of the best ways to play for the dark side in terms of green-blue, because it makes a very combination with a lot of heal and Vigilance and a lot of big units in green and ramp as well. So a good way to play if you want to. Next, we have Aggression, and this is one that, like I said before, it's all about being aggressive with damage, not being being an aggro deck. Not every deck gets aggro with Aggression, but more throwing out damage, be it normally by damage on units and base, willy-nilly. And you got the rare bases here being Tarkin Town and Shadow Collect Camp. No difference in terms of health between them, apart from the effects. So Tarkin Town could help you finish off a unit you're just shy of defeating by doing that extra last 3 damage you need, or Shadow Collect Camp allowing you to draw a card. Now, drawing a card when you have to get your leader up to deploy at 7 resources is going to be quite taxing, quite late. But that extra card can help if you're focusing on the ramp, which is making your hand less quite small. So you go for that. There aren't the best amount of for the Dooku's kind of focus on separatist unit cheapening them out. There aren't the most, but there are some pretty nice units, and mostly are the space units. So you've got Maul and Dooku here being good ground units. Maul being able to come down and take, when it attacks, attack 2 units at the same time, which is not something you can normally do, but he's like a special case. It's pretty cool there. You got Dooku as well, which you can exploit out, and if you do exploit out stuff, and whatever the power is of the units you exploit, you can do damage towards your opponent's units, which is pretty cool. You also got then the space units. So you've got cheap ones that you play early, like Kylo's TIE Silencer, Punishing One, and a new Confederate, Tri-Fighter, being pretty good stats. Like Kylo being a 2-cost 3/2, pretty good stats for its cost. Like you don't worry about it's just there for its stats, not really its effect. But then does counter hand control really. And then you got Punishing One and Confederate Tri-Fighter being very good stat, also pretty nice unit of X. Like Punishing One, if an enemy upgraded unit is defeated, you can restand him, so you can potentially get 2 swings out of him. And then Confederate Tri-Fighter makes it so bases can't be healed, meaning that your opponent can't heal the damage off the base if you're playing aggressive to them, and even your units can be healed. So you have to bear in mind that it affects both you and your opponent when it comes to bases can't be healed. So it can potentially bite you back if you're not wary of it. You also got ones that kind of just throw out damage as well, like Imperial Interceptor and Ruthless Raider, being units that space cards that come down and deal damage to units. So like Imperial Interceptor comes down and deals 3 damage to a space unit, so it comes down and counter space, but not the greatest stats for its cost, but still pretty good when you combine with effect. And the Ruthless Raider being able to do that finishing damage by when it's played or when it's defeated. You deal 2 damage not only to a base, but also to one of your opponent's units. So it comes down straight away 2 damage to base, and 2 to your opponent's one of your opponent's units. And then when it's defeated, it does the same thing again, and then it's a swing for 4 with a good amount of bulk on it as well. So a pretty nice one. And you've got Force Choke, which is a nice event that just do 5 damage to a unit, a non-vehicle unit. But then if you do, your opponent draw the controller of that card draws a card. So if you do it to your opponent's unit, they draw a card. If you do it to yours, for whatever reason, you draw a card. And you can make it cost 1 less if you have a Force unit like Maul, Dooku, or your leader out in play. Now for the non-aggressive side, not on the dark side, you've got some pretty nice guys that probably do go better with Dooku. Like you got Wolf as well. Wolf is just there as a card that can help stop heal. So if you don't want to use the Confederate Tri-Fighter, you can have this as a way to turn on when you want by either playing it or attacking it that makes sure bases can't be healed for this phase, whereas the other space units just always can't be healed. Then you got Relentless Rocket Droid, which while you control a trooper gains extra 2 power, makes him in a 4-cost 5/5. And considering that all token units are troopers, just having a token unit on play makes that alive. You got also Heavy Persuader Tank being a good exploit card. 7 cost 6/5 with exploit 2 already, so you can make it more. And then when it's played, you deal 2 damage to a unit. And you got Crate Dragon being like a good payoff for ramping if you want to go for ramp. You can ramp up, and then drop this down. And now while he's on board, These are 9 cost 10/10, so very hard to remove. But then if your opponent plays any card, no matter how many, like for every card they play, you can deal damage to a unit, well, while he's on play anyway, you can deal damage to a unit in the ground arena or to the opponent's base equal to the cost of the card they played. So they play a high costing card, a lot more damage. If they play a low costing card, not so much damage, but you can choose where it goes, either ground arena or opponent's base. And then you also got some pretty nice events as well. Like you got Force Throw, being a very nice one to make use of your leader when it's deployed. Doing the whole choose your opponent, either your leader or yourself to discard a card from your hand, and then give you control force unit. You can deal damage to a unit on play, that's in play, equal to the cost of the card. So the higher the cost of the card, the more damage it does. It's a pretty nice one, a little bit of hand control, and even more benefit when you have Dooku out. You also have Precision Fire, be a nice cheap unit event, allowing you to attack with a unit, and it gains Saboteur, so it can ignore shields on a unit, well, defeat shields on a unit, or ignore Saboteur. Sorry, not Saboteur, Sentinel. And then if it's got Trooper, which is like all your token units or some units, it gains extra 2 power for that attack. That's pretty nice. Pillage for hand control, making a player discard 2 cards. So you can use your opponent making discard 2 cards from hand. And you got Planetary Invasion, which is a nice one. Like you can, it's not the best, but you can make use of that token spam strategy if you want. This is a 12 cost card, but you can make it exploit free, so it costs 6 if you kill 3 battle droid tokens, or cost less if you with Dooku's effect. But essentially it allows you to ready up 3 units. They give it an extra 1 power and game overwhelm, so not the best event. But if you go for a heavy token spam focus, then you can potentially make use of this with the exploit. So that is aggression. Now we're going to go to the last of the aspects. Now, so for cunning, we've got it's a pretty cool one. It's like the jack of all trades one, like I said, and this could be a pretty nice one to go for if you want a more controlling focus. Well, controlling in terms of like just make your opponent have a horrible time. I'm potentially doing more things separatisty. So you got some pretty nice dark units. You got the early turn plays like Bazine, allowing you to basically play out turn 1 or even smuggle in later. And look at your opponent's hand, they have that hand knowledge, and then rip a card from the hand. But if you do, they get to replace it. But it just means you can have that hand knowledge, take out something they might have wanted to play that turn, or you don't want them to have, and then get rid of it. You got some other units like you got Rush Clovis, Infiltrating Demolisher, and Tactical Droid Commander, being units that either have exploit or you can exploit because they're all separatists, and have pretty good stats for their for their reduced cost, so it costs already. And nice effects for like Clovis. He's a 4 cost 3/5. Potentially make it 2 costs with Dooku, and he's got raid 2, so when he swings, he's swinging even harder. And also when it's on attacking, if your opponent's tapped out of resources, you create a battle droid token for free, so even more token spam. Infiltrating Demolishers, just one that can potentially come down for free and have good stats for its reduced cost. Tactical Commander is just anytime you play a Separatist unit, you can exhaust the unit the same cost or less as a played unit, so you can potentially like add some tapping down controlling with this commander. And you even got Stand Heal, you can potentially play for free, given he's got exploit free, which means you can reduce him by 6, and that's its cost. Good stats, and then whenever you attack, for each unit, a friendly unit defeated this phase, you can ready a friendly resource. You can kind of untap more to get that Boba effect in this really, which is cool. You also got some nice events, so you got No Good To Me Dead, locking down units for 2 turns, pretty nice there. Triple Dark Raid to play out from the top 7 cards of your deck, a Vehicle in ready, but then comes back to your hand and it reduces cost as well. So it comes out for a reduced cost, comes in ready to attack straight away, and then goes back to your hand at the end of the turn. And then on the doorstep, an event that just spam out some token units, and also they come straight away in play. So you can play out these 3 battle droid token units and ready them so you can attack straight away, or just have them to attack, do little bits of damage at your opponent's base, like 1/1 each, basically 3 damage at your opponent's base, and then exploit them straight after. Now for the non-dark side, we got some other cards, and we got not many good choices, but you got some nice ones here. Like you got Greedo and Crafty Smuggler and B1 Security Team. Pretty good cards you can play early turns. Like Greedo's one that gets a benefit if he's exploited by having his win defeated to potentially do damage to a unit. Crafty Smuggler being a unit that can stay around to eventually exploit by having shielded, so it has a shield when it's played. And then B1 Security Team being a nice little sentinel that's like real low stats, just costs double its cost. Now you also got some exploit cards outside the dark side, but not many. And you got Droid Suppressor being one that has pretty nice stats, can exploit for more if you use Dooku's effect, And when he's played, you can exhaust the enemy unit, giving that bit of control to the board. And then you got some nice events as well. Like you got and upgrades. You got jetpack, be a nice upgrade you can put in. You can smuggle it out later as well, and it just gives a unit an extra 2 power, but also gives it a temporary shield for that phase, for that turn. So it can either be protected before it gets to attack to your opponent's base for more power, or have it crash into your opponent's unit but survive because of the shield. Then you also got some nice events like Political Pressure, which is a good one you play early. So that you choose your opponent, and they can either discard a random card of hand, so not their choice, a random from their hand. It could be a card they don't want, they have to just bank on it, or they give you 2 battle droid tokens. And considering that you're a exploit folk, like a leader that can give things exploit, so you can play out things cheaper and know what they are, they don't really want to give you tokens to exploit, so they might either lose a card from hand or give you those 2 units. Then you also got Surprise Strike as well, being ones that allow you to attack with a unit and for more power, so be more aggressive that way. And you also got now there are 2 of them. So if you while you can exploit stuff out, you can't exploit everything, only separatists. So you can make use of this to have like a cheap unit, like a underworld unit, play out a bigger underworld unit, Dark Side 1. Like potentially have a bounty hunter, like a cheap bounty hunter in play, like Greedo. And then use now there are 2 of them to bring out a Zuckuss from your hand, so a 5 cost 6/6, turn 2, which could be very, very cool. Or even other things that aren't separatists, or even then, well, you can even bring out more separatists even out even cheaper by reducing their cost by essentially an extra 2 without using exploits. So if you've got enough units, you can potentially play out more even bigger things even earlier as well, which could be pretty cool. So potentially nice little benefits, and this gives you jack of all trades. And just there's not too many separatists, but you don't have to focus just on separatists. Just you can have some separatists that you can have in there to make use of certain things. And that brings us lastly to the Villainy cards. So there are a fair few Villainy cards, like I said, with like the heroic ones and stuff. In the first set, they focus on traits. So like Villainy in set 1 focuses more on the Imperial, which their Separatists is before they become the Imperials. Set 2 is more Underworld focus, so there's not much that benefits there, not more focused on the Underworld trait. But then you have set 3, big focus on the Republic and the Separatists. And luckily Dooku's focus on Separatists is actually ones you can use. So you got Battle Droid Escort, which is from the starter deck. You can just when it's played or when defeated, creates Battle Droid tokens and more Battle Droid token spam, especially when you got Poggle and Nis playing out tokens, getting all those tokens. Yum yum yum. And then you got the Hellfire Tank and Battle Droid Legion being like higher costing units that have exploit too. That can then be used even cheaper. So very high costing units, but you can exploit tokens and play out a lot cheaper, a lot earlier, and even add more exploit that they normally would have thanks to Dooku. So it's pretty cool. And even Battle Droid Legion, when it's defeated, you get 3 Battle Droid tokens. You can then continue on the exploit, so keep exploiting constantly. And then you've got Droid deployment being a way to get more tokens for cheap, or you could turn play out 2 Battle Droid tokens, so next turn you can exploit subbing out using those tokens. And then even then, Merciless Contest would be a nice one to choose each player. Like if you want to play the blue focus, like the blue, and you want to put Power Dark Side, you can even have this as well, being more ways to force your opponent to defeat one of their own units. But you have to defeat one of your own, but you can just use one of your own Battle Droid tokens instead as your side. So you can defeat a Battle Droid token when they got eventually defeat something huge, which could be useful. Or if you've got nothing on board, they have to defeat something, you don't have anything, so you have to worry about that kind of thing. So there's some good Villainy cards there. And lastly, that brings us to my preferred aspects. Like I said, I like to improve on this series, and one thing people did ask was what my preferred aspects would be in like some of the old series. So I'll add this to the third series of the third set of the series. And my preferred aspects probably would be the blue, because you got all the control, you got things like nice things to add. If you want to go for a token spam focus, you can go with Roger and multi-troop transport to kind of get loads of tokens out and make use of them. Just these little tokens just ramming into things and just being stronger than they should be. And even things like Dooku to come down, like playing this a little bit cheaper is actually quite good. And the other way I would like to probably play is token spam with yellow as well, having like Rush Clovis here to kind of get me more tokens by if opponent's tapped out. Well, resources just swing, get more units in play, and even like swing harder as well. On the doorstep, being able to get tokens out, spam with them, and then even Political Crash as well to get more tokens as well. Just to make more use of exploit, or just go over token focus as well. So those are the ways I would prefer to play when it comes to Dooku. Now that is it. That's the end of the video. That is it for today. So thank you for watching. So hopefully you've got more of an understanding of how to build Doku to suit you and your play, or Dooku, sorry, to play to benefit you and your playstyle. And hopefully you've seen all the different kind of aspects and know how you want to play. And hopefully you can get along into building it and playing it as best you like. So thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.